Friends, the silence of the night has its own magic. Some people call it peace. Some call it loneliness. But for me, that night was more the beginning of fear than peace. I live in a quiet neighborhood in New York. Usually, I try to go to bed early after work, but that night's sleep was far from my eyes. Sitting in the room, I started to suffocate. So I thought, why not go for a walk for a while? The streets were deserted. Only the sound of dogs barking could be heard in the distance. The cold wind was chilling my bones, but my steps were moving automatically. Walking through the streets, I felt how much the atmosphere of the neighborhood had changed. During the day, this place is full of laughter, noise, and car horns. But now it seemed as if the whole world had become empty. I kept explaining to myself that this was just my illusion. The silence of the night is always strange. I put my hands in my jacket pockets and got lost in my thoughts as I walked. I was still in my thoughts when suddenly my eyes fell on the other side of the road. There was a man standing there. He was standing completely still, looking at me. His body was normal, neither too fat nor too thin. But the way he stood was unusual. His face was not clearly visible due to the distance, but it was clear that he was standing completely motionless, staring at me. My heart beat fast for a moment, but then I consoled myself. Maybe someone else had gone out for a walk. I quickened my pace and lowered my eyes, but then he started moving. No, this was not an ordinary movement. He was not walking like a normal person, but his arms were swinging strangely, as if he could not control his bones. And then he started dancing. Yes, he was dancing on the deserted road, at 3 in the morning, alone, in a completely unnatural and frightening way. His legs would sometimes jump to the right, sometimes to the left, and his arms would move like a thin puppet dancing on a rope. I stopped for a moment. My feet seemed to be glued to the ground. My heart beat faster. The only thought in my mind was, this is no ordinary person. He was dancing and suddenly stopped. He slowly raised his head and looked straight at me. This time I saw his face. He was smiling, but this smile was not ordinary. His lips stretched to his ears. His teeth protruded at an odd angle, and there was no sign of life in his eyes. This smile was something that could not be on the face of a human being. A thrill ran through my body. Sweat broke out on my forehead, even in the cold night. I controlled myself and said to myself, this is just an illusion. Maybe he is a madman or a drug addict. I have to go back home. I tried to take a step back, but at that moment he also started moving. This time he started walking, but in the same dancing way. A step forward, then a strange jerk, then a swing of his arms, then a turn of his head at an unusual angle, as if his joints were broken, and yet he was walking with force. My breath caught. I thought I should immediately cross the street and take another path, but my feet were not moving. I just stood there watching him, as if someone had tied me down. He was moving towards me, the same devilish smile on his face, the same emptiness in his eyes, and the same unnatural movements on his body. Suddenly I realized that there was no one in the entire street except me and him. No cars, no voices, no chatter, only the beating of my heart. At that moment, I was sure that what I was seeing was not human. I tried my best to control myself. My heart was pounding, as if it were about to burst out of my ribs. The man was now fully advancing toward me, but his gait was still like dancing. His arms would swing to one side, his legs to the other, and then his neck would suddenly jerk back. It was as if someone had tied him with strings, and he was dancing under control like a puppet. I mustered up the courage to look away and started walking toward the corner of the street. My steps were heavy, but I told myself, I just have to get home. That's my goal. Just get home. But when I turned around, he was right behind me. I swore. The distance had been quite a long time ago, but now he was only 20 or 25 steps behind, and he was still dancing. The same devilish smile, the same empty eyes. My throat went dry. I picked up my pace. With each step, I felt like he was getting closer to me. I dared and turned around once again. He was close to running, but he was no ordinary runner either. As if he were performing, he started running in a strange, dancing manner, and his speed was increasing. Now my fear broke through the mud wall and came out. I ran with all my might. My footsteps began to echo on the road. My jacket started waving in the air. I ran straight towards my neighborhood, panting. But what was enough to blow my mind was that at every turn, every road, every street I turned, he was already there. Yes, in every street I stepped into, he was already standing there. His smile had widened, as if he was enjoying my fear. This is not possible. This is not possible, I muttered. I stopped in front of a house and looked to see if there might be a light on. A window open. Some help. But the whole neighborhood seemed dead. Every window was closed, every door locked, every bulb was off. It was as if time had stopped. Now I was sweating profusely. My heart was screaming and telling me to run. I turned into a street that was relatively dark and narrow. I thought maybe he wouldn't follow me there. But he was there too. He was standing in the middle of the street. His head was tilted at a strange angle, and he was taking steps like dancing. Then suddenly he straightened his neck and ran towards me. I screamed and I started running in the opposite direction. My feet were shaking. The ground felt like it was slipping under my soles. I thought, if I could reach my apartment, I could escape. Just lock it, close the windows, and it would be over. Finally, I reached my street. My building began to appear in the distance. A ray of hope woke up in my heart for a moment. Just a few more steps, but as soon as I took a step, the man suddenly appeared. Now he was standing right in front of me. There was still the same emptiness in his eyes, and his smile was even more demonic than before. He was not moving at all now. He was just standing straight and staring at me. I took the courage to take a step back. At that moment, he also took a step forward, but that step was also dancing, as if he responded to my every action in his own way. Now the distance between me and him began to decrease rapidly. I shouted with all my might, "Stay away." "Who are you?" But my voice echoed in the silent night and returned to me. No answer, just his smile. Then suddenly he did something that made the ground give way under my feet. He twisted his arms at a strange angle and bent down on the ground and then started crawling in the opposite direction, just like a spider, but his eyes were still fixed on mine, and his smile did not break. Now I knew that this creature was not human. I was backing away and the strange creature was crawling along the ground like a spider. Its rattling bones, twisting joints, and that devilish smile were enough to paralyze my mind. My breathing was out of control. The more I backed away, the closer it came. Then suddenly it stopped crawling and stood up straight, as if someone had pressed a button and made it stand up again. It turned its neck from side to side with the sound of a bone snapping. At that moment I felt like if I stopped, it would finish me off. I ran towards my apartment with all my might. My steps started to slip as I climbed the stairs, but I didn't give up. I took the keys out of my pocket. My hands were shaking. Sweat was dripping. But finally I opened the door and slammed it shut. I pressed my back against the door, panting. I escaped. I escaped. I told myself, but then the same sound came from the other side of the door. Knock, knock, knock. Someone was knocking on the door. Slowly, as if playing. My blood froze. My heart was pounding like a bomb in my chest. I plucked up the courage to peek through the hole in the door. There he was. The same devilish smile. The same empty eyes. This time, his teeth were more prominent, as if he wasn't laughing, but mocking me. I immediately backed away, picked up the phone, and tried to dial 911. But the line was dead. No signal, no sound. The knocking on the door got louder. Knock, knock. The surface of the mirror began to shake, as if it were water. I screamed and backed away, but he slowly started to emerge from the mirror. The room grew cold. My breathing stopped. I ran to the door, but the door refused to open. The windows were also closed, as if the entire room had become a prison. He was now halfway into the room. His eyes were directly into mine, and his smile was even wider than before. So where will he run now? His rattling sound rang in my ears, and the next moment the whole room was plunged into darkness. After that, I don't remember anything. People say I was found unconscious in my apartment, the door locked from the inside. Doctors said it was due to severe shock and fear, but I know what I saw was real. And the scariest thing is that even now when I look in the mirror at night, I see the same smiling face behind me. He never left. He is always with me. Friends, this was the scary story, The Smiling Man, which makes sleep run far away from my eyes after reading. If you liked this story, then be sure to subscribe to our channel, Cursed Narratives, so that you can hear more heartbreaking horror stories.